Good morning, everybody. And I say morning because it's almost 1:30 in the morning. Why I'm up? Don't know. It's one of those things. So, what do you do when you get up at 1:30 in the morning is make a video, I guess. So I hope everybody is well. And we're just going to do a little quick update on the Basic Bushcraft line and then talk about a few odds and ends. Let's see, so we'll just get right to it. So the Basic Bushcraft line is basically, you guys know, just a lineup of a couple things that are designed to be affordable so that folks on a limited budget can get into some leather and have some leather stuff for their bushcraft kit. So what I've had in there traditionally, among other things, is a couple of belt pouches. Basically I've had the small one and the large one, and the small one is about ideal for, let's see, we got a couple of Altoid tin size things here, so you could fit two of those in there, and there's room left over for a couple other items inside there. So that's a good basic small pouch for, you know, carrying a little first aid kit, you know, some of your EDC stuff, fire kit, things like that. So, or you know, little tiny survival kit, that kind of stuff works real well for that. The larger one's basically the same design. It's straight up and down sides. It's kind of nice full flap on it. Keep your stuff secure and covered, and it just kind of basically double the depth of the other one, so you get more stuff. So good for carrying, you know, kind of the same idea. Short knife will fit in there, as well as kind of a pouch to have on if you're out foraging, gathering, that kind of stuff. Can work out for that too. So picking up some wild edibles, or, you know, hunting for flint for your flint and steel, or arrowheads, that kind of stuff. So then I decided I'm going to add one more because it's kind of been a request, as something a little bit more stylized, a little more classic looking. And so same kind of construction, which I should mention, is that these all have, let me get in here, all have a leather laced construction, and this all stretches out and kind of smooths out a little bit once you stuff it and start using it a little bit. And that's just kind of a classic style of construction that was popular many years ago, kind of a classic design. And I like it because it's nice and simple. It's field repairable, even though chances of that breaking are slim and none. On the odd chance something happens out in the field, you can lace it up with a piece of paracord or shoelace or something like that and fix it right back up again. And then you know, I can mail you out another piece of leather lace, or you can send it back and we can have it fixed up in no time. So real easy to repair at home on your own, which I think is nice too, because then you don't have to, you know, on the odd chance that something breaks, you don't have to send it back to me. So the next one, the new one, and it's up on the website already, is this one. That's a little bit more classic styled. So it's basically kind of more tapered at the top and widens out at the bottom. Kind of a more traditional kind of mountain man kind of shape. You guys have all seen this kind of shape. So it's a little more classic looking, and a little bit wider at the base. So it might actually have, I'll hold it up next to the other large one and you can decide for yourselves which has more room. I think the new one has a little bit more room in it. So there you go. So I think this one is a little bit wider, have a little bit more space in it, a little more classic design, and just a belt loop on the back. It's big enough to accommodate, geez, at least a 2-inch or more. I can put my hand through there. So any size belt you have will work with this, and that's laced on also, so again, field repairable, nice and convenient. Like I said, these are designed to be kind of more affordable. to start off with. So kind of an entry-level piece of gear, but it's definitely not entry-level quality. They're super strong, super long-lasting. I've never had anybody get a hold of me and say that there's been any problem with these in all the years I've had these other ones out there. So and this is an oil tan leather, so it's basically water is just going to bead right off, and so it'd be super long-lasting. I can't see any reason you won't be able to hand one of these down to your kids. So now another thing I want to bring up is that I made another one, and this is something that I've mentioned before, and not enough of you take me up on it, quite honestly, but is that all of these things can be customized and things like that for your own, you know, with your own vision or creativity. So all you have to do is, before ordering, go on my website, go to the contact page, and fill out the little contact form, and that just sends me an email, and we can talk about it. And so this is the same pouch as the other one, but this one here I added on a few embellishments. So instead of just the leather toggle on it, it's got antler, and the lace construction is all the same, but you can see around the lid there's some stylized lacing. This is a contrasting color, so it's a lighter tan, and the whole thing was done, all of the lacing was done in that lighter tan color. So just a little contrast, so just a little bit nicer looking. And I don't put them up on the website like this because, you know, it's more of the idea is to come up with whatever you like, you know, and just say, you know, I want to add this, I want to eliminate that, or change this, and we can do that. Just make sure you get a hold of me first so we can talk about design ideas, what'll work, what won't work, and then I can you know, just send you an email invoice for whatever the cost ends up being. So yeah, but this one's going to be, might use this one myself, or maybe, I think at some point I'm going to put up a category on the website. You know, there's categories such as shoulder bags, belt pouches, that kind of thing on my website store. I might put up a, what do you call it, Mike's Corner or Custom Shop Corner or something like that, that just has one-off items and something I make out of. Sometimes I make things that are concepts in my head and they don't quite work out so well, or, I mean, not work out, I mean, they're perfectly functional, but it's something I decide that for one reason or another isn't ideal to put up as a, you know, repeat, like, sellable item on the website. It's more of a, would make more sense for a one-off custom type thing, you know. Some things are more conducive to, like, routinely manufacturing, where other things aren't, you know, for hitting the price point you want to be and that kind of stuff, with the amount of labor going into it or materials or whatever. So sometimes I end up with things that don't make it, and but are still functional, would be cool for you to have. Rarely, every once in a while, you do a project for somebody and they don't pay for it, whatever, things like that can be thrown up there. So keep an eye out for that. It's not my #1 priority at this point, but it's probably going to happen. So anyway, that's going to about round up the budget line. There's some belt pouches on there, there's a haversack. If I come up with some other ideas, I'll add that, but basically this year I kind of want to move in some, and now we're going to kind of move into the odds and ends real quick, and I just want to probably move into a little bit more high-end stuff, a little bit nicer. You know, my website itself has kind of been dedicated towards things that are relatively easy to manage and manufacture, and also are super durable. That'll just, you know, my main focus on all my leather work is something that's going to last, and so I put a lot of time into developing finishes and techniques that are going to be durable in the long run. That's my #1 goal, is that you know, you'll be able, it'll outlast. That if you buy a leather knife sheath, have me make one for you, it should last as long as the knife, and you know, you could hand down that assembly to your kids, you know, the knife and the sheath and that kind of thing, and not have that knife in 10 years sitting in a sheath that's coming apart, you know. So that's my focus, and both the kind of stock items on the website as well as custom work is starts there and then goes from there. And so, but I want to definitely move up into some more high-end items and maybe a little bit fancier and things like that, more options. I'm going to move into doing some more canvas work. I already have a couple prototype things that I'm working on. That's going to be another video, and that should be coming not too distant future. I'm going to get a couple of those things out in the hands of some testers. And basically last year, 2017 moved a lot slower than I wanted to as far as the leatherwork thing goes. There was just a whole bunch of stuff going on outside of leatherwork that just was kind of road bump after road bump that just slowed me down. And so, but a lot of those goals still remain. And I think doing some wax canvas items are going to be combined with leather, so it'll be mixed canvas and leather things. Just kind of my own ideas of what that should be, and look like, and how it should function, again with durability being the #1 goal. And so last year I made up a few prototype items, and I've been using them myself and having other people try them out, and I found some of the flaws in wax canvas, and one of those is the susceptibility to wear just like any other fabric versus leather. And I kind of don't want to put out anything out there that's significantly less durable than leather. So those wear points on canvas, like I think just canvas or just nylon or whatever is never going to be as long lasting as I would want it to be. So just a strictly waxed canvas or oilcloth or whatever, these things, you know, where if you have a haversack and where it wears on the side of your hip as you're walking, that kind of thing. I made a strictly waxed canvas shoulder bag last year that I used, and within a few months, I get out 2 or 3 times a week probably, and whether it's just hiking or what have you, and so I used that bag religiously every time I went out, and within a few months, one of the points where my water bottle sits in the bag, and you know, so the base of the water bottle kind of pushes out the sides of the bag, had started to wear holes, and that's just not going to work. So for me, straight up, those kind of fabrics in certain use situations are not going to be sufficient in and of themselves, so they're going to have leather reinforcement points, as well as the leather and canvas contrast makes it look really cool and really good. So I'm excited about this line. I think it's going to be fun, but a lot of testing is going into it, so again, that's kind of putting me back a little bit. So yeah, some new directions this year. The custom thing basically has been my bread and butter for the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been, and I want to kind of change that up a little bit and get more like items with my stamp on them, my personal view on it on the website, and you know, have those things just be something you guys can log in and click it, throw that in your inbox or, you know, checkout box, and call it good. And it's, you know, it's somewhat about business too, is that way for me and for you. You know, a custom item requires a whole bunch of emails and phone calls to sort out all the details, and so before you even think about putting pen to paper, drawing a design, you and I both have in a custom item already like sometimes hours into this project, right? And so when you think about it, as far as billing for that or charging for that, it just doesn't always make sense. So as the bread and butter item, you know, so I want to reduce that a little bit. It just makes business sense for me, you know, looking at the books and the numbers and everything else. That needs to happen a little bit. So, and then I had a customer give me this, do a little repair work on it. It's just an old vintage leather case that he found at a flea market, and just we needed to repair the handle here. It's basically almost split in half, so it's not a very super aesthetic repair, but just reinforcing that handle so he can make it functional and look decent, you know, color match the repair and match the stitching and everything, but not as visible repairs I typically like to do, but it is what it is. But that's another thing that I do around here, is repairing leather. So that about covers it for the leatherwork stuff. You guys know I'm a foraging and wild edible and wild medicine type fanatic. One of my bushcraft focuses is the flora and fauna out there. I feel like that's, to me, one of the big aspects of bushcraft is just, knowing your environment. And so this the latest Samuel Thayer book came out, and it just came in, and it says Incredible Wild Edibles, 36 Plants That Can Change Your Life. A bit dramatic there, but Samuel Thayer, I have his other 2 books, and he's got some DVDs out and things like that, and if you're into wild edibles and foraging, I can't emphasize enough that his books are really cool, even if they don't always cover, well, most of the plants really honestly seem useful to no matter where you're going to be. They're pretty widespread, but even barring that, the mindset that he uses and his approach to it, which he covers a lot in these books, is invaluable. And some of the books cover the basics of foraging from the get-go, broad characteristics of plants, kind of things, basically a good primer for getting into foraging. So I definitely look at his books to pick up on that, and get started on foraging. I truly believe that understanding the environment is probably the foundation of bushcraft. If you think back to our ancestors, no matter who you are, you had primitive, tribal, traditional, hunter-gatherer, polytheistic ancestors. It's just a fact, and they definitely, if you think about their lifestyle, number one had to be understanding the environment. It just did, and they didn't have the tools that we do. They didn't have the gear, if you will, the kit that we have. It just wasn't even a thing. They had to, at best, had lithic technology and stone technology, and it worked for them. And so they didn't, they weren't so focused on that. And that's, and one of my inspirations for my mindset towards being out in the bush is, how do people who live it approach it, right? So I don't know, that's just me. And but definitely check out those Thayer books if you're into foraging at all, and understanding plants and things like that. They're really good. A bunch of people are moving this last bit of 2017, moving into 2018, and a lot of changes. I think 2017 was kind of a bizarre year, just a bizarre year. A lot of things going on in the world, lots of crazy things, right? It feels weird, and I think there's people moving in 2 directions. They're kind of making a bunch of changes and moving to new things, and kind of it's charging up some new creativity and some new determination to do their thing even harder, better, going more all in, and then with other people, they're kind of very upset. There's a lot of protesting and angst and all kinds of things going out there in the world. So let's do what we can, keep the world positive, guys, and be kind to your families and neighbors and people you meet, and everybody's got their own situation, everybody's got their own problems, and it's all very real to them, and so everybody deserves to be treated with some kindness and some respect and given some space, even if we can't put ourselves in their shoes or understand what they're going through. They're very real to them, and and so everybody deserves some kindness, and we got to share that. And I think that's going to be one of the keys to moving forward, is being kind to each other and understanding each other. We see a big rift, especially in the political arena in the United States, and I think in Europe too. There's just this tearing at the seams. There's no kind of communication back and forth anymore. It's just 2 giants just pointing fingers and screaming at each other, and everybody having this moral superiority thing on one side and very accusing anger towards the other side. And I think we got to drop the egos a bit, drop the confirmation bias, and understand that everybody has their own situation, their own realities, and they're coming from that reality. And if we try to understand, kind of get out of our own BS a little bit and our own view of things, and put ourselves, a little empathy, put ourselves in other people's shoes. And that doesn't just mean like myself, what would I feel in that situation, but actually trying to put yourself in how they might be feeling. It's not about us all the time. And anyway, I'm ranting. So be good to each other, guys, and let's make 2018 a cool year, an awesome year. Let's support each other moving forward, and we're a good community here, and let's be the change. That's it. Take care, guys. I'm going to try to go get some other things done, and who knows, it's rolling up on 2 o'clock now, so this video has gone too long, and maybe I'll get some sleep here too. But anyway, it's finally getting some rain here in California, a little bit of winter weather that's resembling winter, so it's going to be foraging time too, so I'm excited. We'll share some of that. Sign up on Instagram. I shared pictures of that stuff there, so link below. See you guys. Thanks.